So in our previous examples, when we used the repeat block, we had it repeat a certain number of times. So for example, when we drew a square, we used repeat 4, had it move and turn left by 90 degrees, and we just repeated that process 4 times. There's another really helpful repeat block. Under control, you can see it here, repeat until. And what it allows you to do is go until a particular condition is met. So rather than simply repeating a certain number of times, we don't necessarily know off the start how many times this will occur. So here's a simple example of how we could determine how this works. Let's make a new variable. I'll just call it x for convenience sake. And what we're going to do off the bat is we'll tie this to when we press the flag, we will say let's set x to be 0, for example. And now we want to repeat until some condition is met. The conditions we can often find in the operators area. In this case, I'm just going to say repeat until our x variable, drag in from there, is greater than 10. And inside that, I'll put in an if statement. And in fact, I'll use an if-else. And let's say that if our x value, right here, is going to be less than, so I'll grab this and put it into my if statement. So if x is less than 7, let's go back to our variables here and let's just change x by 3 if it's less than 7. And under the else, let's do it slightly differently. Let's say we set x to be, and I'll grab an operator here and use the addition. And let's say that we want it to be whatever x used to be plus 1. Now as we trace this through, and when I say trace, what I mean is we want to try to imagine what is the value of x here at the end of each iteration. Now iteration simply means one time through the loop. So at the 0th iteration, in other words before any loop has occurred, we set our x value to be 0. So at the 0th iteration, our x value is 0. And to make this easy on ourselves, let's go to looks here, and we will use the say block, and I'll just drag in the variable x, and we will say the value of the variable at the end of each repeat. And let's make that a little bigger so it's easier to see. And if I click on this, hopefully we can see beforehand that what's going to happen is we start at 0 for x. Then as I go into this, I say repeat until x is greater than 10. Well, 0 is not greater than 10, so we will go in at least once. Then if x is less than 7, since x is 0, it is less than 7. So that means we're going to change x by 3. This else will not occur because it's tied to the if. So since what we did in the if is going to happen, the else will not. So that means that at the end of the first one, we should say that the value will be 3. And let's double check that that's the case. So we click it and we see a 3. Great. Now let's figure out what's going to happen next. So after it's a 3, this symbol right here means jump straight back up to the top of the loop and check to see if this loop is now complete. So here, if x is greater than 10, well, x was 3, so that means it's not greater than 10. So we will do this again. Is 3 less than 7? It is, so that means let's change by 3. So after the 3, the next thing that I should see is a 6, because once again we'll skip the else. So let's run that. So I get 3, then 6. Great. So now that it's a 6, we jump back up to do the test. Is 6 greater than 10? It is not. So we go in once more. Is 6 less than 7? Yes, it is. So that means we change x by 3 again. So that means we're going to add 3 more to 6, so we'll be at 9. The else will be skipped. So now we should say 9. So it should say 3, 6, 9. So let's test it. 3, 6, and 9. Great. So far, so good. Now when I get to 9, I should jump back up. Is 9 greater than 10? Nope. Is 9 less than 7? It is not. That means now I'm going to do the else. Now here, what this is saying is we want to set the x value, our variable, to be whatever it used to be plus 1. So in this situation, it used to be 9, so that means I'll add 1 to that, and I should be at 10. So if we run this, we should see 3, 6, 9, and finally 10. Great. I'll stop that again. Now, When we get to 10, now we jump back up to the test and we say repeat until, and this will be 10 is greater than 10. Well, 10 is obviously not greater than 10, it's equal to. So then we jump inside and say if 10 is less than 7, it's not, so we go to the else. And once again, we set x to be whatever it used to be plus 1, in this case 10 plus 1, so we should be at 11. Then we should say that it's 11, jump back up to the top, repeat until 11 is greater than 10. 11 is greater than 10, so 11 should be the last value. So when we hit the flag, we can see we'll get 3, 6, 9, 10, and we should end with 11. And it's done.